At this time, I'd like to introduce our first speaker at CIRA. We count Industry Canada as one of our most important stakeholders, and we are very happy to have Marta Morgan with us today. Marta is the Assistant Deputy Minister for the Strategic Policy Sector at Industry Canada. The sector's responsibilities include telecommunications policy, marketplace frameworks policies, microeconomic policy research, and the provision of strategic advice for the department. Prior to joining Industry Canada, Marta has a broad range of experience in economic and social policy development in both the public and private sectors. From 2003 to 2009, she was the Vice President of Trade and Competitiveness for the Forest Products Association of Canada, where she was responsible for international trade and economic competitiveness issues affecting Canada's pulp, paper, and wood products. And she has also held a variety of senior positions within the Government of Canada, first at Human Resources Development Canada, and also the Privy Council Office, as well as the Congressional Budget Office in Washington, D.C. She holds a BA in Economics from McGill University and a Master's in Public Policy from the John F. Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University. Please invite me in welcoming Marta Morgan. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul, and let me offer my own welcome to everyone taking part in the Canadian Internet Forum today. I understand that this is the first event of its kind and that it has been wildly oversubscribed and much more popular than anyone ever expected. I think that's a really good sign for the vitality of the discussions that we'll have here today, and also for the vitality of the internet community that we have here in Canada. So congratulations to CIRA for taking this initiative, which has already been such a success by bringing together so many people in this room. This event is a success because of the efforts not only of CIRA, but also its partners, the IISD and the Media Awareness Network, which have launched extensive online consultations and today's events. And I think one of the most valuable parts of that is really giving Canadians the opportunity to have their say on the Internet's direction in Canada and for all of us. More than that, Canadians have had the opportunity to shape the direction that the Internet will take at a global level. The perspective that comes from this forum and the rest of the outreach that CIRA has led will shape Canada's voice to the international community at the Internet Governance Forum later this year in Nairobi. Bien entendu, le point central du forum et des consultations générales sur l'avenir de l'Internet serait très pertinent, même si le forum visait uniquement notre environnement à l'échelle nationale. Les avancées rapides dans la technologie, les incidences économiques essentielles et les considérations stratégiques changeantes signifient qu'il reste toujours des questions à explorer. Il y a toujours des incidences éventuelles à apprécier. Ainsi, je suis heureuse de contribuer à la mise en marche de cet événement aujourd'hui. I want to make three key points which I believe will help to frame the discussions today. First, I want to bring you up to date on the government's progress towards a new digital economy strategy. Second, I will comment on the important role that CIRA plays in Canada's internet environment, such as bringing together the views of a diverse range of stakeholders. Enfin, j'aimerais souligner l'importance de l'approche multilatérale à l'égard de la régie de l'Internet, aussi bien ici au Canada qu'à l'échelle internationale, et vous encourager tous à participer à cet engagement commun qui consiste à construire une infrastructure Internet qui fonctionne bien pour tous. So let me start with the digital economy strategy. As Minister Clement has often pointed out, while information and communications technologies represent only about 5% of our GDP, they drive the performance of the other 95%. The Internet and the ICTs that move it forward and make the most of it have phenomenal economic importance. They're shifting how societies, businesses, and governments work. And we see this very clearly in the countries around the world right now. The government's digital economy strategy set out the objective that by 2020, Canada will be a globally competitive digital economy characterized by innovation and enhanced productivity. A nation where businesses, communities, and individuals have the skills they need to use digital technologies to their advantage. To achieve this goal, the Minister identified 5 critical areas for action. First, Canada needs a world-class infrastructure that supports the digital economy, not just in terms of the traditional hard infrastructure, but also the infrastructure of policies and legislation that enable a successful digital economy. We intend to identify how we can continue to build the policy framework necessary for an increasingly competitive environment. Initial steps have been taken with the introduction and passage of legislation to protect the electronic marketplace, to protect against spam, to protect people's privacy. The legislative frameworks for the internet continue to evolve and must continue to evolve. A number of upcoming decisions regarding spectrum and foreign investment restrictions by the government will be made over the period of the next 6 months to a year, and those will have a significant influence in terms of the hard infrastructure and the kinds of investments and competition that we see here in Canada. And dare I mention the review of the UBB decision by the CRTC, which is ongoing and should bear fruit in a number of months. In addition to infrastructure, both policy and more traditional infrastructure, Canada needs greater adoption of digital technologies throughout our economy. We need to facilitate the use of these technologies and bring down the barriers to that use. When we look ahead, we foresee that Canada will no longer be able to rely on a growing labor force, as we have for the past 3 to 4 decades, to sustain our standards of living. We will need to improve our productivity across the economy if we wish to sustain the kinds of growth that we have seen in the post-war period. And information and communications technologies and their adoption, in particular by businesses, are a critical aspect of securing that kind of productivity improvement. And you will be discussing aspects of this priority yourselves after lunch today. Third, Canada needs a digitally skilled workforce. The world is changing too rapidly for Canadians to rest on old skills and old ways, and we need to determine how to support innovation at the individual level. Fourth, we need a competitive ICT industry. We need to make this country even more of a home than it already is for technology innovators. And finally, we need to make a place for Made in Canada digital content. It's important to underline that while this is a federal strategy, it has to recognize the variety of interested partners, consistent with what I imagine we'll hear about digital leadership and innovation shortly. In fact, there's already substantial interest among provincial and territorial governments on digital economy issues. Recently, a first meeting took place of federal, provincial, and territorial ministers devoted specifically to the digital economy. It resulted in 4 commitments. First, ministers agreed to create a working group on ICT adoption that will look at barriers and solutions to ICT adoption, especially among small and medium-sized businesses. They agreed to develop an inventory of programs and share best practices so that all can draw on what works best. Secondly, they agreed to create a working group on digital skills and talent, and they will look at everything from building attracting skills to post-secondary graduation rates. They will look at gaps and what could be done to expand Canada's digital talents. Third, ministers agreed that increasing access to broadband for people in rural and remote areas would remain a priority, and that all jurisdictions would work together to identify the state of service and gaps in broadband service delivery. And fourth, they agreed to examine existing federal, provincial, and territorial support for the ICT sector, with a view to better coordinate ICT sector support and ultimately increase private sector innovation. In addition, all ministers agreed that they would become champions in their respective cabinets for all things digital, and they agreed that each one will drive the digital agenda in his or her own government. Bien qu'il soit important que les gouvernements maximisent leur contribution pour bâtir notre économie numérique, tous les intervenants ont des rôles à jouer. En effet, le rôle et les contributions de l'autorité canadienne pour les enregistrements Internet sont la preuve tangible de l'incidence que les intervenants peuvent avoir sur la mise en forme de l'économie numérique. Les travaux de l'AC sont mieux connus à travers son rôle à titre d'autorité enregistrement pour le domaine .ca de niveau supérieur pour le Canada. For just over a decade, CIRA has managed .ca, making it a stable, secure, and trusted domain name service for Canadians. It's proven itself through more than 1.5 million .ca registrations. If that were all CIRA did, this would be a solid record. But CIRA has also established itself as a leading institutional model among its global peers. It's playing an essential role in fostering engagement among stakeholders in Canada on internet issues, as we can see through today's event. This is also shown well by the collaborative efforts of CIRA and its partners in leading the multi-stakeholder consultation process that led to this forum. As I mentioned earlier, CIRA will be present and active at the United Nations-sponsored Internet Governance Forum, the IGF, in Nairobi later this year. It will be joined by Canadian stakeholders who will bring their own perspectives to one of the most important bodies influencing the future of the internet for us all. This brings me to my final point this morning, the opportunities that you and all stakeholders have to shape the future of the internet. Internet governance in Canada and internationally is based on what we call the multi-stakeholder approach. In essence, this recognizes that the internet is too big, too complex, and too rapidly changing for any one entity in society to control it. Rather than a top-down directive model, we have a flexible bottom-up approach. We have a model in which stakeholders have responsibilities in line with their own areas of strength or in relation to their accepted roles in our society or economy. Here in Canada, the private sector does much of the work of making internet services available and developing and rolling out new technologies and applications. Not-for-profit entities such as CIRA are focal points for technological and organizational expertise to make the internet work in practical ways for users. Governments address key policy issues in collaboration with stakeholders, much as we are doing through the digital economy strategy. Un environnement similaire existe à l'échelle internationale. Des organisations telles que l'Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, ICANN, jouent des rôles opérationnels précis qui permettent à l'Internet de fonctionner. Les organisations internationales se penchent sur des sujets précis qui cadrent avec leur mandat établi. Les entreprises, comme au Canada, élaborent et mettent en place des solutions. This system works well. Its results are not always perfect, but it's flexible and responsive. It enables contributions to come from the most appropriate sources and a broad range of interests to be taken into account. But we can't take this system for granted. Some countries would like a system with more centralized control. They want a more state-driven internet governance model than we enjoy today that would be top-down rather than bottom-up. Canada's view is that this would harm the internet and limit its contributions to social and economic progress. But to make that point more effectively, Canadian stakeholders need to play a greater role in this system. No matter whether you are here on behalf of a business with internet interests or you are here on behalf of a non-governmental group, you can contribute to results that work for us all. Here in Canada, that means engagement and consultations such as those CIRA and its partners have conducted. At an international level, it means looking for ways to work with your counterparts in other countries and share Canadian practices, especially in developing countries as they seek to strengthen similar bottom-up processes in their own lands. Businesses in Canada need to link with businesses in other countries to promote an internet that fosters economic development in all countries. If you're part of a not-for-profit or non-governmental organization in Canada with internet roles and impacts, you will build a stronger internet for all by working with your counterparts across borders. You can ensure that those countries see the internet and the multi-stakeholder approach as vehicles for stronger economies and societies. Les possibilités pour les intervenants de contribuer à ce système au Canada et à l'échelle internationale existent et sont importants. Let me conclude my opening remarks with a few final comments. We all know how rapidly the internet is evolving. New applications and new technologies have increased demands on the current infrastructure faster than most of us would have thought possible. As a result, we face technical issues such as the future of the domain name system and the shift to IP version 6. However, we have a strong multi-stakeholder system in Canada and around the world to manage those issues. It allows people and institutions to contribute to the development and governance of the internet from their strengths and expertise. We see as much in the papers here today and in international discussions. We see it in the role that CIRA plays at home and abroad. We see it in the inputs that are helping us to develop Canada's digital economy strategy. Since change is eternal on internet issues, we cannot sit back. We need to make contributions and engage others as we help to shape an internet that works for everyone and adapts well to changes. And in this spirit, I look forward to hearing the results of your reflections today. Thank you.